Today we are revealing our must-have plants for our 2026 garden and a few we would definitely recommend skipping. I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us. Let's get into some plants. We are so excited to get the 2026 garden season started. So talking about our favorites as we're dreaming up the garden to come is a wonderful way to start the year.
And we can't wait to share some of our opinions with you, including our first must-have #1 go-to shrub.
That, of course, will come as no surprise. Let's Dance Skyview Hydrangea.
Hydrangea macrophylla in our growing zone, which is 6A, we're located in upstate New York, are very hit or miss, or at least they used to be until Let's Dance Skyview was introduced to our garden. So we've had it in our garden for 3 seasons now, and it is a tremendously hardy, tremendously fast reblooming big leaf hydrangea. Now, there are some traditional varieties that have been on the market for a while, things like Endless Summer, things like Bloomstruck. I mean, they are gorgeous hydrangeas, but in our colder growing zone, they don't do well because it gets too cold. But what makes Let's Dance Skyview so amazing is it has improved bud hardiness because hydrangea macrophylla bloom on old wood. So when that bud hardiness is improved, they make it through the winter better. And Let's Dance Skyview has faster reblooming, which means everything on its new growth grows faster, therefore it blooms faster. So, Proven Winners, I think, calls it the continuous blooming hydrangea. It is a really cool hydrangea that you can kind of change the color of based on the pH of your soil, but it is an easier to turn blue hydrangea. 3x3.
Yeah, about 3x3. Not a tremendous plant, so it's great for tucking into a border. We have some as a hedge that I cannot wait to see it fill in.
I totally forgot. We planted 10 of them in a hedge at the base of our tricolor beach in the front yard, which faces south. This is a full sun, big leaf hydrangea. I would think if you're in one of the higher growing zones down south,
definitely some shade.
Yeah, some shade in the afternoon. But it is a great addition. I think it's a must-have for the garden.
100%. Now, there's another plant that isn't necessarily a bloomer. It does bloom, but we don't grow it for the blooms. This is a plant that really, years ago, we've had it for some time now, changed our entire idea of what foliage can do for the garden. And that's Winecraft Black Smokebush. So beautiful, rich, deep, purpley red color. It will get those blooms, but we do a little bit of a pruning technique that keeps it in size check that also does remove the blooms that you would get that year.
But yes, because it blooms on old wood.
Yes.
But the Winecraft Black Smokebush is supposed to get 4 to 6 feet tall and wide. Ours does get bigger than that. And I would say, it's in full sun, but not like full sun. Yeah. I think it's like the minimum requirement for full sun. But what we do is we coppice it to the ground in the spring, and smoke bushes do not mind that at all. And what that does is it produces a ton of new growth from the base, but that new growth, although we forfeit the blooms, we get bigger, bolder, more robust foliage, and that's really why we grow this smoke bush. I think that it has gorgeous structure. I think that the shape of the leaves is beautiful and bold and super unique. And we have grown... Actually, we do have another variety in our garden. We have Velvet Cloak.
Yep, it's an older style, more commonly found, I think, before Winecraft Black came out. It's a little bit more olivey behind the red. And I think the blooms, since we haven't coppiced that one, they almost have a little bit more of a pinkish to them from what I can remember. But it's just not as robust in general.
Yeah, I would say the foliage is more sparse on the Velvet Cloak. But if you want like a deep, rich, intense, purpley, like aubergine kind of leaf, I would highly recommend the Winecraft Black Smokebush.
Another plant that in the last, I think we've had this for this will be its 3rd season in the ground. One of the healthiest landscape shrub roses that I've ever worked with or seen. It smells beautiful. It looks like an English rose, honestly, which is my absolute favorite thing.
We both prefer an English shrub rose.
Yeah. So, reminiscent pink rose. It's an introduction that Proven Winners came out. There's a whole series of these roses, and they're from Serbia, which is interesting because, it's on the other side of the world, but it has a somewhat similar growing situation that we do here in the States. It's hardy, and it is just healthy throughout the whole season. No black spot and mildew. And also something that I find really interesting is when I'm pruning roses in the springtime, we go outside and we're seeing roses with, the little black tips or the brown tips as there's dieback, minimal dieback. These roses are bulletproof. I mean, we're having a pretty cold winter this year, so
It's very cold. It's -4 outside today.
yeah. So maybe there's going to be a little bit more dieback, but it has consistently come back so strong, and the rose itself is exquisite.
It is. It's a very nice medium pink rose. It's a nice neutral pink, which pretty much goes with anything in the garden. The foliage is a medium green. It's very healthy, very dense. Sometimes it gets an occasional lengthy cane that it throws
Wild
out.
cane.
The only negative I can think of regarding the reminiscent pink rose is it is extremely thorny. Very high thorn count on the reminiscent pink rose, but I think the intense fragrance, the healthiness of the rose. I mean, if you've struggled with old varieties of roses getting black spot and things like that, that's something you don't have to worry about with the newer varieties like reminiscent pink. And what do we have? 7 of them planted as like a big en masse?
Yep, we have them en masse. And you know what I'm just thinking about? I hadn't thought about the 3 shrubs we were just talking about. Could you imagine the 3 of them together?
Yes, I could.
You really could.
could.
The bloom colors, the structures, the leaf colors, because you've got the big leaf hydrangea leaves. That would be really good. You know what we would need is a like a chartreuse grass.
Yeah, or a perennial, which we're going to get to. We're going to get to our favorite perennials and our favorite annuals and our favorite trees. But before we do that, we want to talk about a shrub that we would skip in the garden. And we have a number of them in our garden, and we're starting to yank them out.
Yeah, the number's dwindling. And this is the hot take, but we are not going to be keeping the Rose of Sharon in our garden.
I know. I mean, some people love them, but for us, our growing season is so short, and our roses of Sharon's or Rose of Sharon's, our Rose of Sharon's don't really start to put on a show until August. Yeah. And then by then, they've taken up the space in the garden from May, June, July. I mean, 3 months, and then they bloom in August, September. I mean, half the growing season, they're just doing nothing.
Yeah. We have one that we'll be keeping. It's called White Pillar Rose of Sharon, and it stays very narrow. We have it at the back of the border on the west side of the house, and it's staying very nice and columnar, and it's a very clear white flower. So when it fades, because, they bloom, they fade, I've noticed that the blooms don't fade and look like, wet, yucky tissue paper. So I'm liking that one. We are going to be pulling out more of the shrubby one that we have on the back.
Can I just tell you, though, that I forgot we had a White Pillar Rose of Sharon because that's how much of an impression it makes on me.
Yeah. Over time, when it gets a little taller, I think it'll be more of a structural impact. But we're going to want a structural impact on that side of the house because it's got a purpose.
And Rose of Sharon is just something we would skip. A lot of people love Rose of Sharon because it is bulletproof. It blooms on new wood. There are a ton of gorgeous varieties. It does, it's that late summer color that everybody loves. But I think we have better ways in our garden of getting late summer color with panicle hydrangeas and things like that. So for us, we would skip Rose of Sharon, and we, as far as shrubs go, would focus on the Let's Dance Skyview Hydrangea, the Winecraft Black Smokebush, and the Reminiscent Pink Rose.
On to perennials, which are, such a staple of a cottage-style garden. And in our more contemporary style cottage garden, we definitely are leaning a lot on perennials for repeat color and structure and just all kinds of changes throughout the season. So the first one we're going to talk about is Luminary Backlight Phlox. This is a tall garden phlox. It gets, more like 3.5 feet tall, very nice bushy at the base. The thing about this phlox, regardless of how beautiful the white flowers are, there is not a speck of disease on that plant by the end of the season, which we've had other phloxes throughout the years, and we try them and they just peter out and look yucky.
I am very impressed by the health of this perennial phlox and the length, the duration of the blooming season on this phlox. It just never seems to stop. Now, I will say, I, at one point in time as a gardener, kind of had an aversion to white flowers, not because I don't like white flowers, but because I thought color, color, you need color, you need color. And then once you introduce white into such a colorful garden, it makes you appreciate the colors even more. It kind of makes them pop even more.
Yeah.
It's that rest for the eye. So don't be afraid, if you love a colorful garden, to throw some white perennials and white flowering shrubs in there. Now, one downside of this variety of phlox is it is a favorite of the groundhogs that live in the woods behind our house. So the groundhogs, we have caught them coming down and eating this phlox. So what we've done to help protect those phlox is we've put black chicken wire cages around the base of them, so that as that fresh new growth is coming out in the spring, the groundhogs and rabbits can't get to it until it's well above that. And that seems to have really helped it.
It definitely
the last couple of seasons. At one point, though, I did see a rabbit using the black chicken wire as a stool to get to it. So you still, nothing's really critter proof, but it does help, at least get it past that new growth phase.
Another favorite of ours that is actually critter proof, which is very rare in the plant world, would be serendipity allium. The thing we love so much about serendipity allium, it's a pollinator magnet.
It really is. It's nonstop.
Right. Like when you go near it, sometimes it is humming. It looks like it's vibrating. I remember one time looking at this plant, and it wasn't just bumblebees. It was honeybees. It was flies. It was so many different kinds of critters were all over this plant. I like that it gives a different foliage with that strappy look. And then you've got the lovely, cheerful purple bubbles on the top. But that onion family really does keep the critters away.
And even the foliage stays very nice. Obviously, the foliage emerges first. It's that bluish green, but it's very pretty. It's very strappy, very pretty. It does bloom earlier than a traditional millennium allium or something like that. I do remember when we had a garden tour at our house last summer or the summer before, there were so many pollinators on it that some people were nervous to go near it.
Yeah.
Because some gardeners do get nervous around bees and things like that. But if you want pollinators, this is the perennial for you. Our third perennial?
Third perennial.
Now, this one we're really happy to share with you because this is kind of a hit or miss perennial for a lot of people. And we've grown this one for 5 or 6 seasons now successfully. And it is a peach berry ice coral bell. Now, there are all different kinds of coral bells and colors of coral bells and different varieties. Some, for us, have not made it through the winter in our 6A growing zones. This is one that continuously survives our cold winter, comes back strong in the spring, and it has beautiful, interesting foliage on it. It's not a perennial that we grow for the blooms, although it will send up bloom stalks with white flowers on it, maybe late spring, early summer. Sometimes we go through and cut those off, but the bold foliage that has orangey, peachy pink is really why we grow it. It's a great plant for the front of a border. It really survives the winter well in our growing zone. And we have it paired actually with a plant we mentioned earlier, Winecraft Black Smokebush, in our garden. And that pairing is a delight.
It is really special. And there's a handful of heucheras that we've done well with besides that. Spearmint is one. We've had luck with one called Dressed Up Ball Gown. So there's a couple of these different colors that really work for us. And there are others that just fade. So this has been really a nice way to add in a small pop of color. The good thing too, it's not a fully hot orange. It's...
Oh, I wouldn't consider it a hot orange.
Yeah, like it's got... Would you almost call it like an antiqued, like it's orange, but like a tea orange? I don't know. It's like it's antique somehow. So it's not
peach, like a peach berry ice.
Like peach berry and ice. There you go. It's really aptly named. There is a kind of flower that we have a hot take on to finish out talking about perennials. It's I know people really love these. I think we could get yelled at for this one.
I know, but this is a great time to tell you in the comments below. Leave your hot takes of the, like, you're like, I'm over it. I would never plant that again. Let us know. But also Share with us what you definitely would recommend in the garden. And don't forget to leave your growing zone and where you're located so that other people can reference it. So help each other out in the comments. But we're about to reveal our, like, we would not plant this in our garden. We have, but we wouldn't do it again.
We're not planting lilies, either the Asiatic style lilies or daylilies.
I mean, we do have daylilies in our garden,
We
but
have one kind.
it's kind of by default because we've been too lazy to take them out. But we're not a daylily person. We're not an Asiatic lily person. I think I'm definitely not an Asiatic lily person because I really don't care for the scent of them. And those red lily beetles, they are super difficult to deal with.
They're gross to begin with. Ugh.
Yeah, and so we did have a drift of Asiatic lilies in our garden for a while, and it took a long time to eradicate them. Like, they just kept coming back, and we just kept pulling them.
Pulled them up, try to get the whole bulb, and if you didn't get them, the next year you'd get a couple leaves, and you'd have red lily beetles on those stupid leaves. So once they were gone, very happy about that. And we do have the one kind of daylily, which it's a beautiful flower, but once it's done after one day, it's just such a sad...
It's a messy perennial for us.
Yeah. So I would say the lily family. How's that? The lily family.
I feel good about that.
Yeah, we'll say that. That's all I have to say on that topic.
If you're enjoying us sharing our list of garden favorites, we did create a free garden favorites guide on our website, growformegardening.com, that you can go ahead, click the link in the description below, and either sign up for our email if you haven't already, or you can just go ahead and download it from the website. So check out Eric and Christopher's Grow For Me Gardening Garden Favorites. We're really excited to share it with you. It has more plants than the ones we've just been talking about, but let's keep going and get into our favorite annuals. These are must-grow annuals in our garden. What is the first one? I bet you already know what it is.
Rockin' Playin' the Blue Salvia.
Oh, I didn't think you were going to start with that one, but that is also a must-grow in our garden.
I know he thought I was going to say it, but Rockin' Playin' the Blue Salvia. One of the main reasons that we love this is, in comparison with perennial salvias, this is going to give you color, and it's also huge. So I get side note, don't overplant these because they do get a lot bigger than you think.
They do get really, really large. So we love Rockin' Playin' the Blue Salvia because it is a pollinator magnet and a hummingbird magnet. This is another plant similar to Serendipity allium that will just be covered in pollinators from as soon as it first starts blooming in late spring, early summer, all the way through fall. It is a truly awesome salvia. It gets maybe 3 feet tall at its max. It loves it when it starts to heat up in the garden. It really starts to get going, but we're happy with the fact that even in the beginning of the season, when we're still a little cooler in our zone, it still does very well. And we do have perennial salvias in our garden, which we do really like. But if you want those flowers the entire season with no lull, Rockin' Playin' the Blue Salvia is really the way to go.
It's definitely an awesome choice. Another annual, which I think is the one he was talking about, would be Supertunia Mini Vista Indigo. This is it's like the staple of our annual displays every year. Last year, you may remember, we had 20 of them, mimicking the shape of our new pondless waterfall, creating this beautiful ground cover that just looked like a river of Mini Vista Indigo. It starts out a really rich, deep purpley blue, and then it fades over time to kind of like a ghosty white color. But that mix, it gives it so much depth and so much interest. It lasts all summer. It doesn't get leggy. It doesn't do any of the things old petunias used to do.
I mean, one of my aversions to Supertunias is that come like that 4th of July time, you have to cut them back. With the Supertunia Mini Vista series, particularly Mini Vista Indigo, you don't have to do that. You can just leave them. They're no maintenance at all. And the flower coverage is so dense that you really don't see any foliage. And we've grown them both in ground and in containers, and they've performed magnificently in both applications. So I think Supertunia Mini Vista Indigo is a must-have for the garden.
The last annual that we want to talk about is Meteor Shower Verbena. This is a hybrid kind of verbena that is shorter, It doesn't seed itself, which is probably the reason that we would highlight it as being a very important kind of plant for us. We love Verbena
Mhm.
bonariensis. Tall, wispy, beautiful, blowing in the breeze.
We have it everywhere in the garden
Yes,
because it reseeds itself everywhere in the garden.
yeah, and that's why if you want something that is a little more compact, going to be under 2 feet tall, a little bit more of a bushy appearance, you get that really nice airy structure. You get the lovely colored flower. You get to enjoy the pollinators on it, but it's not going to seed itself everywhere like the big cousin Verbena bonariensis.
So traditional Verbena bonariensis that we grow from seed and have throughout our garden, I think is also a must-have annual. But if you are afraid of something reseeding, if you like a little more control over your annuals, we would recommend Meteor Shower Verbena. Now, annuals you would skip, Christopher.
Okay, so it's funny. We were thinking about which annuals we would skip, and there's the opposite reason that we would skip them. So I was thinking about pentas, which I love. I think it's so pretty whenever I see it in the garden center in the spring as an annual that we could select. It's so pretty, the little star flowers on it. We're just not hot enough until too late in the season. So it ends up staying this little tiny plant that doesn't really get anywhere. So it would be wasteful for us to even pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, for the same exact reason, I would skip James Britannia.
Yeah.
Because we don't get hot enough and we're too moist for it. I think we're too cool and too
Mhm.
moist for it. It really likes it hot for a longer period and dry, and we're just really humid. We get a lot of rain, and we just don't get warm enough for James Britannia or Pentas. So those are
Yes.
annuals that we would skip.
And then on the other hand, though, what's kind of ironic is with lobularia, we've tried quite a few in ground and in containers, and they'll be so beautiful for most of the season, but then we get too hot.
Yeah, we can't get a lobularia that lasts the entire season for us.
So, either we're too hot or too cool until we get too hot. So that's a little bit of something. And there's one other family of annuals I can't not mention, Gomphrena.
Oh yeah, well that's for a personal reason.
That's a personal reason. I had a very emotional year. I had 124 plugs that I planted out in the garden that I tended for months inside.
Well, you started them from seed.
I did. I loved my babies. And overnight, half of them went because of the bunnies. And then we had a late frost, and I ended up with 10 plants
I know.
of 124.
I mean, they are like rabbits are magnets to Gomphrena in our garden.
But you know what we're going to do this year? I'm going to start some. We're going to use one of our 2x8 elevated raised beds for some cut flowers that stay on the short side. Yeah. So I'm going to have Gomphrena because I'm going to raise it up off the ground.
Well, maybe we'll add it to our must-have annual list alongside Rock and Play in the Blue Salvia, Meteor Shower Verbena, and Supertunia Mini Vista Indigo. We have to share with you our must-have trees for the garden. And for me, one of the must-have trees is an eastern redbud. And this is a tree that is native to our growing zone. You can even see them along the highway. Yeah. I see them on my way to work in the morning in the springtime. And they are a spring flowering tree. And the flowers are so cool because they grow out of the bark of the trunk.
Yes.
And the branches. And they're actually, those flowers, they're edible. It's in the pea family.
I was going to say they're a legume.
Yeah, so they taste like peas when you eat them. But I love the structure that an eastern redbud brings to the garden. It's whimsical. It's got fun branching on it. It's very fairy tale-esque to me. Mm-hmm. I think it's an excellent addition for structure in a border, but also the foliage is really cool because it's big, bold, heart-shaped foliage. The eastern redbud, the native one, it's kind of a limey green color. You can also get a Weeping Ruby Falls redbud or like a Midnight Express redbud. We also have a Carolina Sweetheart redbud that is a variegated tricolor redbud. So you can get any foliage color you want, but what I think makes them really cool are the beautiful blossoms in the spring. So I think redbuds are a must-have.
Absolutely. And the eastern redbud and the other ones in general, they're not a tremendous tree. So I don't know, would you call us a small garden or a mid-sized garden?
Our garden's small, I think.
Yeah, I think
we're on a half-acre lot.
Half-acre. So the eastern redbud, yes, it's a good tree in time, but I think it's more in that like 25 tall and wide range. It's not, one of these 50 tall and wide. So it's something manageable. And there are other trees, I would say, that are very often found in home gardens such as the dreaded Bradford pear. So get rid of those and put in an Eastern redbud because they'll be similar size, similar bloom time, but not horrible for the environment and dangerous in gross trees, and we don't want them around. The tree that I was thinking about how much I absolutely adore is our prairie fire crabapple. The color of this tree in spring, I don't know if it photographs well. I don't think it does. It is vivid, vivid, beautiful magenta pink.
And also extremely dense in flowers.
Yeah, it's just like it's covered. It just looks like the branch gets swollen with blooms. And also a big benefit to this tree, besides all that beauty, is the berries, the crab apples, are persistent. So at the end of the season, when the leaves fell off, it was covered in berries. And there's not many left.
No, I mean, the birds eat them.
The birds eat them.
I think this is actually a tree that's smaller than the Eastern redbud.
Yeah, it's not going to get tremendous. Where we placed it, it's sort of like it's an accent, not an anchor. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
like it's something that we're using to kind of cap off a spot, but it's not a major anchor tree that is going to give like a huge height.
And it's not something that's going to cast tremendous shade as it gets older. And the foliage is a great color. It's like a darker purpley red foliage once it grows in. And so that's a nice contrast in the garden as well. As far as evergreens,
yes,
I think a must-have in the garden would be a Tromner blue spruce. And this is a really cool blue spruce because it is crossed, and I always have to like triple think about this. It's a blue spruce. It's like a hoopsy eye, right?
Yep.
Crossed with a Serbian spruce. So it's got that bright icy blue color, right? It is Serbian spruce, right?
That's the blue spruce. Yes, it is Serbian. Omarica, Serbian spruce.
Yeah. And so it's got that bright icy blue color, but it also has the whimsical branching like arms that come out, which I think is really cool. Slow growing. Again, this one is not supposed to get too big, maybe 15 feet wide, 20 feet tall. But evergreens never stop growing. And if it's happy, it's gonna keep going. And we've had great success with our Tromner blue spruce.
We have. It's kind of great to get a double duty evergreen. A blue spruce is they're beautiful. They tend to be more Christmas tree shaped. Like we have a Monty blue spruce that's creating its Christmas tree look. But in this case, you have both the blue, but you also have the interest. I love a Serbian spruce. They can be so jagged and edgy, but also it's kind of whimsical the way they do it. They're not like it's not an angry looking tree. Sometimes you see some of these like really, jagged looking trees. I don't like those. But this one, it's just doing its thing. It's very thick and lush.
And it's the centerpiece of our east border.
Yeah.
And it's pretty resilient. I mean, last winter we had some rabbits go around and eat a lot of the base off, and it's growing back. I mean, it's a healthy, hardy, resilient evergreen. Yep. So I would recommend those 3 trees in your garden. What I would not recommend in your garden is a tree that you are not in love with, because our gardens don't have enough room for trees that we don't love. So if you have a tree that you're on the fence about or you don't love, get rid of it. And the other thing I'd recommend is not buying small baby trees.
That is something you see a tree at the garden center, and it's maybe 3 feet tall, and you're, oh, you know what, that's going to be so cool. One thing that we have learned now that we've been in this garden 8 years, there are a few that I wish we had invested a little more. Maybe it took some saving, but I would rather put in a slightly larger specimen, because you're going to get more. You're buying time. That's what it comes down to.
You're buying time.
Especially with evergreens. And evergreens can be quite an investment. But some evergreens grow so slowly that if you want to get that garden performance that you can enjoy, it's better to spend a little more.
I agree. So skip the small trees and skip trees that are evergreen, that are borderline in your growing zone.
Oh, yeah.
If your growing zone is like 6A, like we are, I wouldn't go for an evergreen that's like hardy to 6B, like anything that's super borderline, because in our experience, anything that's been borderline has always failed.
Yeah, it's true. And we're having a very cold winter right now. It's always very windy where we live. And I know it sounds like a lot of our garden friends in the South are having some extra chill that they're not used to. So fingers crossed that a lot of those borderline evergreens do come through. and survive, it's a big investment. So invest well. Make sure you love the trees that you purchase, and love those trees because they're going to be there a long time.
Yeah, so we'd recommend the Prairie Fire Crabapple, the Tromnar Blue Spruce, and I forgot the third one.
The Eastern Redbud.
The Eastern Red, my favorite. I forgot
His favorite. So that's what we've been thinking about a lot over the winter time while it's cold outside, dreaming up what our garden favorites really are for this year, the things we want to make sure that we have tested and tried and made sure we're willing to put our little stamp of approval on it.
Yeah, so if you are interested in getting the Garden Favorites guide, check out the link below in the description. Again, I'm Eric.
And I'm Christopher.
And we're Grow For Me Gardening.
Thanks for growing with us.